Good morning and welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. It's Monday, July 20th. My name is Lincoln Shrike, joined today by Gordon Mack. Gordon, I saw Bryce Harper over the weekend hit a really big home run. Are you getting excited for the return of professional sports?
I am. It was weird watching the scrimmage wasn't streamed on TV, like it was only through like clips, whatever, but it is going to be weird watching baseball without any fan noise.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's already kind of a quiet, kind of slow game, but I think it's going to be weird for players when we get to the
Yeah.
NBA and when we get to baseball and potentially football, for them just to not have like pumped up crowds for big moments, for start of games, for after scoring. There's going to be no celebration noise. It's just going to be really weird for these
It is.
athletes.
Yeah.
That's the way I thought
The
about it.
the artificial crowd noise, it doesn't have that like anticipation. It's only like right when something actually happens. There's no like ball is in the air and you hear the excitement, build of a genuine crowd. It's just like there's a hit and there's a home run, and when it's finally landed, that's when the sound goes up. There's no like the normal. It's very weird. Not only not seeing the fans, but just having that artificial build to it. All right, track and field news. We have, I guess, a little bit to talk about. Things last week didn't go so well for cross country, in my view. Now, maybe you have a rosier outlook, but what are your thoughts on cross country happening, given that we've got a bunch of conferences delaying the start of their seasons, a bunch of conferences saying we're not doing fall sports, period? I know you've been on the side of glass half full the whole time, but what are you thinking as far as the 2020 cross country season?
So here's an update on the cross country season. So as of right now, A10, Atlantic 10, America East, Hampton from the Big South, just that one school from the Big South, the CAA technically, Ivy League, the MEAC, and the Patriot and the SWAC have all most likely canceled their seasons.
Yeah.
Now, I got bored, so I went through and I took out what you could arguably say is a 2019 ranking of all the teams. So what I did was I took the top 31 finishers in NCAAs, and then the first team out in every region, and then I made them all tied for 32nd. Then the second team out of every region, made them all tied for what would be that 41st. And I kept 41st because there's 9 teams, right? And I kept on going and basically created a giant. This is the best team of 2019, and this is the worst team of 2019. Surprisingly, there's a lot of teams that don't even bother competing at regionals, where they either just run one person or they don't finish a team. It's a lot. There's a lot of teams. There's like certain conferences where literally only one team from the entire conference will like compete at regionals. Anyway, regardless, so I created this ranking of just to show like the good teams from the bad teams. And as of right now, 0 men's or women's teams that finished top 10 nationally have canceled. Only one men's team from the top 25 has canceled, which was Harvard. 0 from the women. 1 from the top 31, which still is Harvard for men. 3 from the women. They all finished 28, 29, and like 30 or whatever. All right, top 50 teams, 5 women's top 50 teams, 7 men's. Top 100, 12 and 15 for men. Top 200, 33 for women, 34 for men. And then overall, 71 women's teams and 69 men's teams. And basically, as you can tell, a majority of these teams are non-relevant, like nationally teams. So that's good so far. However, things can change, and it's still only July 20th. And I wrote an article about it, how the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region are kind of falling apart because they're running out of teams. They may have to combine if we end up having a season, which would be kind of wild. But right now, no big players really have dropped, or a conference with a big player, with a big team in it, So, like, I think the first, like, somewhat decent team to get cut would be maybe an Iona from like the MAC, the mid MAAC. But other than that, all the main players are still in play. And talking to coaches, they're kind of 50-50 on thoughts. But I do think that it's not about trying to save cross country. It's about saving college football. And if they
Of
do save
course.
college football, then cross country will happen. It's just basically the amount of effort that an SEC commissioner or Pac 12 commissioner puts towards really demanding a football season, that's the amount of effort we'll get towards cross country. So if if SEC really loves football, which I think they do, then I think SEC will have cross country. Now we'll see what
Mm-hmm.
happens, but I mean they really want to play. That's all I know.
Yeah.
They really want to play because they need the money.
I
So
I saw over the weekend several schools. I look at the West Coast Conference, which obviously includes BYU and Portland. They're like delaying the start of fall sports until like later in September, which is kind of irrelevant. I mean, there's only small meets typically up until that point, and we can deal without late September, mid September cross country meets. But I guess my biggest question going forward is, if these schools that really need to have the fall sports economically and want to have football, if they're going conference only, and maybe this is just something we figure out later down the road, but I mean, what does that say for the national championships and regionals? I feel like that hasn't been clearly laid out. Nothing has really been clearly laid out. But does it not at all signal to you all these schools that are canceling fall sports? And there's still money to be made for them, even though it's not the level of SEC, Pac-12, Big Ten. Do you just think the inevitable, though, is going to be that these schools have to do what these smaller conferences have done? I mean, it just it's not like it's like safer for them to compete than it would be for the A10 schools or those other conferences who have canceled their fall sports. It's just, it feels like we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and this is all to be wiped out. I just, where is the NCAA on this? Last time they came in right around, before March Madness was going to happen, obviously the day before NCAA indoors was going to happen, and they said the whole thing's wiped out. If I don't think there's any precedent for some conferences competing in national championships while others have canceled their entire fall athletic programs. Do you really believe that some conferences are going to go forward and we're going to have like this smaller, like you wrote in your article, like the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast would combine? It just seems like, even ignoring the effects of the pandemic, be it what it may, if it's safe or not, like there's so many logistical things to get through. Like conferences would have to break their no non-conference competitions to compete at regionals and nationals. Like, is all that going to happen? Are we going to figure that out? It's, like you said, it's July 20th. Like, this cross country season's coming up. Like, I just don't see how all that can be figured out, and we can make the necessary changes to be there on whatever it is, November 20th, having a national championship. How do you foresee that? I know it's a loaded question, but there's just so many things. People are in and they're out, and then there's in conference, and then they have to break that. There's just so many things to like wrap your head around.
yeah, I mean, right now, 21% of the NCAA collegiate cross country teams have canceled their seasons. 21%, or almost canceled.
That's a lot. I know there's no big names really, but that's a lot.
But the thing is that 21% takes up a majority of like the bad. Like again, 21% overall. But then if we do among top 50 schools, I mean, only 12 of them are from the top 50, men and women combined. So, it's just the people who have dropped are like non-cross country schools. Right. I mean, everyone. I mean, but still, if you're the fourth man on Vermont, you still care about having a cross country team. So it doesn't take it away from those kids who miss out. But we're looking at it from like more of like a national, like trying to crown the best. And right now, if they had a season, we would still crown the best. There wouldn't be an asterisk on who would win cross country with this current field. And I think as long as the field still stays somewhat like reputable, I think it's okay to like for NCAA cross country to still go on. I don't think it's going to be until like we start losing like an entire Power 5 conference, and it's kind of like, well, this is kind of weird. Like New Mexico isn't here. Like they were supposed to win, and Sure, it's just 8 Mountain West teams, but it does seem kind of weird that New Mexico and Wayne Colati don't get to run, right? So
Right.
uh, I think that until then, then it should start being about why are we doing this. Until then, though, I think we can still do it. I mean, also, here's a question. I probably don't know. I probably should know this, but is football kind of separate from the NCAA in a weird way? Like with the whole, is it like
BCS.
in the BCS? I mean, BCS was kind of separate. It's not BCS anymore. Now it's the college football
Oh,
playoff.
yeah.
But like,
Sorry.
is there like kind of like a different person in charge of college football than like does Mark Emmert of NCAA still hold all the keys to college football? Because he seems to be very big on the and like we let the conferences decide as opposed to NCAA
Mm.
decide.
That's a good question. I don't want to just speculate. I know there's more hands in the pot there than other sports, obviously. But yeah, you're right. There are the football championship series and the things that don't have the NCAA branding. So perhaps I don't know the answer. I would think the NCAA still has the final say, but there's obviously a lot, like I said, more hands in the pot there than there would be on a typical sport. And their end of season championships don't necessarily have that NCAA moniker. So I actually have no idea. The thing you're talking about with an asterisk, I mean, all it takes is the big sky for the men's side saying we're not doing fall sports. And then it's like,
Yep.
I mean, you can still have a cross country season. You can, we can have fun dual meets, kind of like we're doing right now in the track season. And maybe that's what coaches want. We'll just say, well, we know we're not going to have a championship, just like in track right now. We know we're not going to have an Olympics this year, but we can have, I know cross country time trials are stupid, but we can have fun. We can have fun dual meets and tri meets and stuff like that. Because obviously, if Northern Arizona, they can't compete in fall sports. Well, I mean, the men's competition is irrelevant. It's a giant asterisk. You might as well not even have it. The same goes obviously on the West Coast Conference. If you get the defending champion BYU and their stuff gets wiped out, so it just feels like it's one move away from if in the women it's Pac-12 or like you said the Mountain West from basically rendering the whole thing. I don't want to say irrelevant, but pointless from a national championship perspective, if that's what you're looking for as the ultimate goal to somehow squeeze out a national championship, even with all these cancellations. Right now, if the season started today and we were able to do this, I guess it would be okay as long as conferences like the Big Ten and the Pac-12 somehow were granted the ability to run at regionals or nationals.
Well,
but
they are.
yeah,
I asked a Big Ten coach, and they said that the conference only does not apply to regionals
okay,
and NCAAs as of right now.
That's good.
So
okay.
There's that.
The last couple of weeks though have not been good. It's been the smaller conferences coming out, and it just feels like the momentum is building. We'll see. I think we've seen. I think other schools will follow the model. Other conferences will follow the model of fall sports don't start until this date, and it's like kicking the can down the road a little bit. And it does leave that glimmer of hope, but I don't know. I guess I'm not super hopeful. I want to be, but just feels like the way this is going. Every week. I mean, I've basically the last couple of weeks I've it's 2 or 3 articles a week. This and this gets canceled. So I've written a lot about cancellations. We'll see.
You know what didn't get canceled?
What's that?
The local track meet in Austin, Texas, where JoJo ran. She had a new season's best.
Yeah,
507.
Now, how did you initially reported it as a 505? What happened there?
Well, the clock read 505, but then the fully automatic time. It was off
they
by
had fully
2
automatic
seconds.
Timing?
Yeah, fully automatic timing. I think they just manually started the clock, so it was kind of off by 2 seconds. But hey, her journey to sub 5, we're almost there.
It's getting there. Yeah, it's getting there.
I mean, I think we're gonna have another mile race on like Thursday. Maybe we'll run a 5:03, and then 2 miles from now we got at 4:59.
Dang. So, yeah.
Can you imagine trying to imagine running your running a college best or better now, Lincoln?
Nope. No, my knees would explode. I have bad knees, which is sad to say because I'm not that old. But no, I've given up that dream, which is fine. Totally okay with it. I would not beat JoJo in a mile right now. She would absolutely destroy me. So then I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. I'm sure you're in the same boat. but I don't need to break 5 minutes in the mile to I don't know,
Have worth.
to have
Wait,
worth. And
so you say
yeah, go ahead.
your knees hurt? You have bad
You know,
knees?
if we, yeah, I don't know. It developed. I think it's a funny
I think I know
story
when it
associated.
developed.
Yeah, so we did a silly video back at the 2015 Peyton Jordan Invitational where I steepled over a water pit, and I think I screwed up one of my knees, and then I think the other one kind of hurts because of like bad compensation or like overcompensating. I don't know, like what one knee was weak, so then all the strain went to my other knee. They're not bad now, and I can still run, but the idea of running fast, no, I can't. I mean, I couldn't break 5 regardless right now, but like if I try to run really, really fast, my knees just feel like they're going to explode. So I saved that for 40s on the 40 because I can go 40 meters with a big 40 thing of beer in my stomach. I can go fast for that amount of time, but other than that, I don't do any more speed training.
Man, that steeple, man, could be the thing that just like affects the rest of your 80 years of life.
Oh damn!
Who would have thought?
I'm kind of hoping. I'll be honest. This sounds kind of dark, but I'm hoping I don't live 80 more years. Or you're saying to live to 80? If I live,
Yes, either or.
okay. If I live to 109, I've been on the earth way too long. So maybe
By
I'll just go
then,
out quietly before that. Yeah.
maybe that
Okay.
by then, that's when we'll have cross country back, and then you can use that final year of eligibility.
There we
Age
go.
109.
Yep. I can compete for BYU at that point. Okay, so we had some track action. I saw you tweeted out the results. It was 40 miles outside of Eugene. There were some jokes on the recording of the video about it being in a mysterious location. It was called the Big Friendly 2 Bigger Friendly, which is a great name. Featured Pete Julian's group, OTC, Brooks Beast, and a couple other groups and athletes. This one I would say not quite as exciting as the first one. Didn't have Brazier running a really fast 1500, but there were some fun things. They had a 2x2x4. Craig Ingalls ran in a 3K. You had thousands going on. Did you have time to check this event out, Gordon?
I didn't watch it. The only thing I saw were the results. I knew they were
Yes.
doing a meet that night, and I was able to find the results online that they tried to hide, and then I revealed them late at night on Friday night. But which would be wild. Imagine if like there was like a world record that ran, and they just had to try to sit on that for like 12 hours before they showed the archive video. But no, the results. I think the most interesting result for me, obviously, I think is the 2x2x4. I mean,
oh wow,
Brazier and Raven Rogers, they go. Well, I think they're on the same team, right? Were they on the same team?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So Brazier does a 49-second, then he gets 60 seconds rest, and then he runs a 51. And then Raven did a 60 flat, 50 seconds rest, 60 flat, which is a pretty impressive workout.
Yeah.
What does that? What does that translate? What do you think of 49, 60-second rest, 51 translates for Donovan if he's running a true 800?
Well, I think we can only say that translates to a world record, right? Because that's 140. No, I don't know. Here's the thing. We know Brazier obviously very fit after he jogged to 335. The commentator for this event, who was absolutely hilarious, by the way, he kept calling Pete Julian's team NBA names. He called them the Detroit Pistons at one point. He called them the New Orleans Pelicans, which I have to assume is a reference to their former title in OP. He mentioned at the very end of this meet video, excuse me, that Brazier may be running an 800 soon. So we may get it. I don't know who can pace him. Maybe have Amos, who's on a different team, obviously. Maybe they race each other. But he's going to try to run the fast 8. So he's done the 1500, got the strength work. Now he's done these 2 400s, got in a little bit of speed. And now we get to see, hopefully, in the next version of this, whenever it may be, him run an 800. And I am very, very excited because I think he's even fitter than he was last year somehow, which is crazy to think of. But minimal distractions. There's not much going on. All you focus on this year is training. So there's reason to believe he could be fitter than we've ever seen it. Obviously, last year was his breakout year, and he's only like 22, 23. So I am super pumped, regardless if this is small stakes. I think there's a shot that he breaks his American record. Now, 142.34, very hard. I think at worst, though, he runs 143. I think he's in that type of monster shape. So I'm excited for the next version of this. This one was like the little bit of an appetizer because we didn't get much of Brazier, and a lot of the events were off distance. I think Brazier was supposed to be in the 1K, which was won by Josh Kerr, but he didn't end up running that, which is too bad. I would love to see those guys go head to head over 1,000. But anyways, I'm just excited to see how these meets keep trickling out.
Do you think Brazier will enter one of the Diamond Leagues?
No, I don't feel like a ton of America. I mean, he hasn't been announced for anything. I don't feel like there's a ton of interest for the majority of athletes to travel overseas right now. They're taking these huge precautions, obviously, to make these meets happen. I think in a year where it's, it doesn't really matter what you're doing, I think he'd be fine to just stay home. I don't know. USATF may have their end of season championship, non-championship. They also announced they're doing like a series of meets in Texas. I doubt he competes because he's not going to have any competition, but maybe he makes it if there's a pseudo national championship. He runs that, but I think he's going to stay in the U.S. and do these kind of big friendly. Next one, the biggest friendly, or even bigger friendly, or even more friendly, whatever they decide to call this. I'm not sure yet, but these have been entertaining and really niche and fun to watch.
I mean, he should consider Monaco seems like a quarantine country, right? They only have 4 deaths in the entire country. Only 109 cases. Currently, they're ranked 181st. They're ranked 181st in the world in countries in the cases, total cases. I mean, it's a tiny ass. It's like a city, so it makes sense. But
yeah,
I mean, they're in the same category as Aruba, Gambia,
Jamaica,
Liechtenstein.
Ooh, I wanna. Oh. Yeah, the thing
French
is,
Polynesia.
Oh yeah, that's where I was gonna head if things got really bad here. The thing is, they want to keep that low, so maybe they don't want to invite every American and their brother over because America, we've struggled a little bit with the old coronavirus. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't been announced. I don't even know if they have an 800, so we shall see. Obviously, if he was trying to run really, really fast, you think he need to get in a Diamond League meet, but he does have Nigel Amos currently living in the same state as him, so all they need to do is get those guys together on a track, and you would think a really fast performance could be done. We'll see. He hasn't been announced for anything. He may just be content to hang around and run these smaller meets. I think running 3:35 showed him, I can run pretty good just here at home in these small pickup meets. So I don't need to travel to do the Diamond League. Yeah, you just never know what these guys are going to do.
What did you think of Engels 753? Now, he hasn't really put up anything that eye-opening. It's kind of, a lot of people around him, like fellow top, distance runners like the Bowerman Group and what Donovan's doing have been kind of like showing off. This guy, he won USA's last year, right? So, but he hasn't really showed his swag yet. Do you think he's just kind of coming back? What do you think is going through with Craig Engels?
Yeah, I have no idea. Obviously, it takes a lot for me to be impressed by a 3K and a 7:53, unless it's run by like a high school senior. If Nico Young would have run that, I would be impressed. But this seemed like it was more of a tempo effort. Maybe he was slowed down by the fact that his girlfriend wasn't let into the stadium. I just want to read this text Kevin sent to me. I don't know if he got this straight from a press release or a tweet, but here's talking about the bigger friendly. The location, 43 miles east of Eugene along the McKenzie River, was kept under wraps to discourage attendance because of the coronavirus pandemic. All coaches, participants, and meet officials were tested twice. The only uninvited fan, Craig Engels' girlfriend, had to watch from the parking lot. She hadn't been tested, Portland Track president Michael Bergman said. I just thought that was funny. That's it. This is like a little funny detail of the world we live in right now that his girlfriend couldn't make it in because she didn't get a test. Engels wasn't he had that, he like struggled at US indoors, only got third, and kind of said couldn't figure out why he wasn't running his best. Obviously, he's not someone like Brazier right now that is in the same shape that he was a year ago, which is fine. I mean, it's just that we're measuring him against like people like Shelby Houlihan and Mohamed, who seem to be in the best shape of their lives in this weird season. It's fine for him. I mean, he's fine. He's obviously healthy. I don't know if he's right now the best 1,500-meter runner in the country like he was a year ago at this time, but I'm not worried about him. He's going to be an Olympian. And, like I said, it takes a lot for me to be impressed by a 3K time, just because like, you need to be running like sub 740 for it to be like considered fast. And this wasn't even close to that, but I'm sure he was just like, it was like a modified tempo, right?
If
he didn't have good competition.
Yeah. No, if we had a 1,500-meter U.S. championship on Saturday, would Donovan Brazier win it?
Yes. I
Josh Thompson?
I think so. I would if he ran this, I wouldn't think he would. I don't think he would run it, but yes, if there was somehow something shabbily put together yeah. I mean, we haven't seen Centro. Has Centro raced at all in 2020? I guess he did indoors, but not outdoors again. And Bowerman is going to run, I think, another time trial type meet really soon, maybe even early this week, if the rumors are to be believed. Yeah, tomorrow. So maybe Centro pops up. But, the guy who's run the fastest, who has the world lead in very small sample size, is Donovan Brazier. He's got the best finishing speed. I don't think Ingles would beat him right now. I don't think Centro would beat him right now. And Thompson, although he was running well at indoors and has run a little bit, I would put my money on Brazier.
It's wild. One other big result from the weekend where I came up with my patent interesting stat of the meet was Shannon Rowberry. She ran 840 point something.
Yeah.
But she's 35 years old. She turns 36 in September. And I was thinking, like, how many 35-year-olds are running 840s? And so I bust out the handy dandy analytics pages, and it turns out not many. She's the oldest ever to run that fast as an American, and she's the fourth oldest ever to run that fast all time. Like two people above her are like all-time greats. But like Shannon Rowberry at the age of 35 running 840 is no joke. What do you think that means for Shannon? I mean, we think about the 5K. we assume we take Shelby out of it because she'll do the 15, but
we think,
and then we think, but then you assume we take Jenny out of it because you assume she qualifies in the 15. Like Shannon Rowberry is going to be big Shelby and Jenny fans during that 15 because she wants to make sure they get to the Olympics in that event and don't try to get in her event. But where do you think Shannon ranks right now in the U.S. in the 5K after running an 843K?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, just to go back to what you mentioned, being the fastest American at 35 over the 3K, most times when we talk about a distance runner on the women's side or men's side, unless save Lopez Lamong or Ben True, we're talking about an athlete at that age who's been a good distance runner. Typically, they've moved up to the marathon by this point in your career, which I think is, one, it's hard to run that fast at this age, but also just most people have gone to the roads at this point in their career. So it's rare in that sense. She's blocked by, in my opinion, several women in front of her. She had a baby in 2018, I think. So, I mean, last year was kind of coming back, and she rounded into a pretty good form. And 840 is an even more encouraging sign. But, you got Krista Swizer, who's a 5,000-meter lock. Elle Purrier is going to be there. She's run a 4:16 mile in the last year. Rachel Snyder. I mean, it's like if Houlihan and Simpson aren't there, it's a possibility that Rowberry could make another team, but you also got to factor in, like younger athletes, like maybe Danny Jones is up there by then. Emily Infeld, who's run a fast 5,000 recently. I know 10K is more of her distance, but she'll be there. The path is tough for Rowberry to make an Olympic team in 2021 when she's going to be 36. But this was certainly an encouraging sign, and you don't want to forget about the talent. I mean, she was a world-class 1,500-meter runner and 5,000-meter runner for like over a decade, and she's still very, very good. It's just It's hard to do. Something is in my. I got like a frog in my throat. It is difficult to maintain that level at that age. And right now, the women's 5,000 has really increased in depth over the last year, like really, really quickly. And you have somebody like Schweizer who's a lock. And if Houlihan, for whatever reason, decides to double, even though really the double's not possible at the Olympics, yeah, that takes another spot automatically. And I think there's a chance, like Kevin and I discussed last week, that Houlihan may decide my best medal shots in the 5K. It's a small chance, but there's a chance. I mean, she just ran 14:23, and it feels like, if she thinks, her speed is superior to those who are going to run the 5 at the Olympics, she might choose that. But getting back to Rowberry, she's in position. There's a chance, but it's like a 20% chance she makes the team.
Her 840 would have been the fastest 3K run in 2019 among women in the U.S. Indoor and
outdoor. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just when you have two women run 825 and 826,
one of those. But only one of those women will matter, right? Assuming that Shelby's a 1500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 840 is good. 840 is good. Don't get me wrong. 840 is very good.
Like her right now, I mean, because you think about it, Schweizer's run 825, Houlihan 826, and Quigley 828. Two of those three probably aren't going to be in the 5K.
Run. Yeah.
Right? So you have to imagine she's going to be in that mix. And all right, here's the question: who is more likely? Who would you put? Who has a better shot at making the individual Olympic team, not the relay Olympic team? Mother of a newborn from 2018, Allison Felix, or mother of a newborn 2018, Shannon Rowberry?
It's close. I mean, I'd say they're pretty similar at this point. I would probably say Felix. I mean, I think it's tough. It's kind of a question of which event is stronger in the U.S. right now, the women's 4 or the women's 5K. And I think they're pretty close because recently those have been events that have been a weakness for the U.S. women. But, now it's starting to come up a little bit. I would still say Felix has a better shot than Rowberry. I don't know necessarily why. Maybe just that experience. I mean, Rowberry has the same amount of experience, but we talk about, Felix, one of the best all time. You can't say the same about Rowberry. It's very, very close. I would trust Felix a little bit more. I think she has that intimidation factor. If she's back and running up to her, close to her 2017 levels, I think the field is a little bit more intimidated of her than maybe the 5,000 would be of Shannon Rowberry. But running 840 is, I think you kind of forget how good 840 is just by the fact that we had two American women indoors run 825, or 825 and 826. But it's close between these two women who are going to be 35, 36. I just think I'd give the nod to Allison Felix. What about you?
I would give the nudge to Shannon Rowberry. I think, like I said, 840 is good, better than we think it is. And also, I'll be even more on the Shannon Rowberry train if she goes out and runs a sub 405 1500. If she runs a sub 405 1500, I'm going to be like, okay, she has speed and she clearly has the endurance. She's running 843Ks. I honestly think Krista Schweizer is the only lock in the 5K. I think Elle Perrier, Rachel Schneider, Shannon Rowberry, Danny Jones, Alicia Monson, they're all in the same category, in my opinion. I think only Krista Schweizer separate.
She ran 416 indoors.
Yeah, but she's still super new to making world teams. She's only made one world team. I don't know. It's I don't know. I'm not as. She's not like a vet who's done it multiple times. I'd look at Elle Perrier the same way as Josh Thompson. Kind of like a new one on the block. Yeah, you look good, okay, and you're riding the momentum into 2020. But you're kind of like you're a sophomore, a second year rookie. You're not LeBron James in year 15 or whatever. So
that's true. You took it to that level. No, well, it's definitely not. We're not comparing Elle Perrier to LeBron James, but yes.
Well, it's like Donovan. It's like Donovan Mitchell. All right, would you have Donovan Mitchell or Russell Westbrook?
Probably Donovan Mitchell at this point, but I understand what you're saying.
I think Russell, in a playoff game, I'd rather have Russell Westbrook than Donovan Mitchell.
Okay. Well, we can each have our preferences there. I'd probably take Mitchell, but okay. Yes. I mean, I think the bigger thing you mentioned, the 1500, which I think Purrier makes my point because she ran a 3:59 split indoors. I'm just more curious, obviously, to see Rowberry in the distance. Like, can she run? I mean, the bar has been raised so high for American women. Like, can she run low 1450s right now? I think that's kind of the threshold. When we talk about like steeplers, like Courtney Frericks running 1450, I know she's not going to run the 5, but that feels like kind of what you got to be able to run to make the U.S. team. And I don't know what 840 equates to. It's obviously well under 15 minutes. But I want to see her maybe run low 1450s and maybe in the 1440s before I feel confident that she's got a, better than what I said, a better than 20% shot to make the team. Because that's about what I put it right now. But what is the, you let me know when you come up with it. What
840 outdoors is 11.73 in points. So let's convert
you're doing
that
to the timetables.
Yeah, points clock. Yeah, timetables. 11,
which we know are historically a little bit untrustworthy. But yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Equivalent to 1455.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think she would need to run a little quicker than that to be a factor. I mean, particularly, right, if we'll see what Schweizer does. She may trust her speed, but, she tries to run and go run in the 1430s. That's going to, make for a jailbreak race. That's going to open up a lot of different things. A lot of people are going to, really pay the price if they try to go with her. We'll see. We have no idea. This is a year off, and I don't want to discount somebody like Shannon Rowberry, who's been so accomplished, who's got an outdoor medal, who's got an indoor medal, who's, at a time was the 1500 and 5,000 meter American record holder. She's clearly got something still left in the tank. So it was a good sign from her. She may have been the biggest winner of the bigger friendly.
Yeah. She was, in my opinion, she was off my relevance list since end of 2017, right? But now she's back on it, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, she was like a non-factor, but it wasn't until she ran this mark when I was like, okay, you're not just in your twilight of your career. You can still put together something and compete with the 20-year-olds. So I think she's going to be a factor. I think she will 100% finish top 5 at the trials, and it's just a matter of will she be in the top 3.
Yeah, the depth definitely falls off after you get past the names we mentioned, unless somebody comes up that we don't anticipate, which is always a possibility, right? I mean, maybe Danny Jones takes a huge leap forward, or Snyder, top 5 I think is there. It's just getting past that hump is tough. Top 3 is going to be really hard. You gotta be well under 15 minutes now to make the team, which is not something we could have said previously. All right, now we go to some shot put news. We haven't talked a lot about field events, which may be a part on bias on our part. But Ryan Krauser giving us reasons to talk about the shot put. A 22.91 meter shot put toss, a heave, if you will. Tied third all time. This is a guy who's won an Olympic title, who last year was a part of a shot put at the World Championships. That was the greatest shot put competition of all time. But during a year that's like a non-season at a meet in, where was it? In Atlanta or somewhere?
In Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah, like a mini competition, this all-time great shot putter throws a personal best. That was a huge shock. 22.91 is a massive throw. I guess it shouldn't be a huge shot because he was throwing big indoors, but it still continues to reinforce to me that these athletes are really in shape right now, where you kind of thought maybe some people would fall off and now the Olympics were postponed. This was really impressive.
Yeah, and the U.S. right now has been. Him and Joe Kovacs now have the exact same PR. I mean, Joe Kovacs threw this mark literally in Doha, so very recently, and Ryan was just a centimeter back. They go 1-2 in Doha, but now Ryan gets that extra centimeter. Now it's tied with Kovacs, and USA, man, with their two guys over 75 feet. Pretty impressive, and you got to think that eventually they're going to be able to crack that 23 meter mark, where they're going into this next multiple world championship / Olympic cycle where there's going to be like no off year, they should be able to put together something. So I'm excited to see what Krauser and Kovacs pull off. And we need to see like a I don't know. I mean, obviously we see them battle it in like a shop, but I want to see them like compete in other things. There's two of the strongest men in the almost you could say the world right now, but or strength wise and throwing things. I want to see them like throw things against each other and like in other competition. I don't know. I just want to see maybe a boxing match or
Oh
something.
wow.
That'll be fun.
So we could do
who would you take in a Kovacs Krauser boxing match? I mean, Krauser's got the height, so. But.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be on the same weight class. He'd be like literally punching down. I was just impressed that Krauser did this throw in a baseball hat. I know he's been trying to bring the cowboy hat back into fashion. He wore that before and after competitions, and now he's competing in a hat. So I appreciate his style points there. Yes, I would definitely watch him and Kovacs have a boxing match. I just know Joe Kovacs much shorter. Ryan Krauser's like 6'7".
Well, maybe we get a race.
Joe Kovacs
Let's get a 100-meter dash.
Maybe a race. I was thinking like a garden clash, but instead of a garden clash, it's like how quickly can you go inside a house and bring all the stuff outside to set up a yard sale, right? It's like, all right, can you pick up this couch all by yourself? Just like superhuman strength stuff. So it's like it's still got the feel of a garden clash, but instead of like competing like with track and field events, it's like moving all of your belongings into the yard really quickly, and a lot of them are heavy, and you got to move them in and out of stuff. I don't know. That sounds stupid, but
you want this sounds like a competition on like weeknight ABC. It's extreme couch movers, and like they just the supermarket. It's like a supermarket sweep, but this time it's for moving furniture, and they're like, we have 3-time Olympian, and then it's like a bunch of shot put throwers.
Yeah. No, but in seriousness, I would love to watch these guys go head to head. I want to see these guys throw, because I do think they obviously brought up the best of each other last year at Doha, where everyone threw, all the three medalists threw over 22.9. Krauser's in shape. I don't think we've seen Kovacs compete, but yeah, let's go after this. I know they've talked about Randy Barnes' top 2 marks, like they're well off in the distance because, no one's thrown over 23 meters since 1990. So it's been a long time. It's been 30 years. These are the guys that seem like they're capable of doing it. And it's still a long way off to 23.12, the world record. But I was surprised and impressed that Krauser is in this good a form. Because the shot put is just so easy to get injured. I mean, you're talking about maintaining that lifting regimen and that motion with that, with the shot. Like, you could easily kind of, pack it in and just be like, we'll save it, kind of take an off year, rest the arm, and gear up to defend the Olympics. But for him to be in this level of shape was impressive. And, maybe we'll go further this year. We'll see. But now even more so, I want to see him and Kovacs competing against each other this year.
Yeah, you could say that the Kovacs Krauser back and forth is like a version of what we had with, I'm gonna bring it up. I know you're like, but Carl Lewis and Leroy Burrell. They were the top 2 100-meter runners in the U.S. and they were constantly going 1-2 against each other. They were outdoing each other's PRs back and forth. We're kind of getting a version of this in the shot put world where they're neck and neck. Literally centimeters difference between the two of them, and now they're matching each other's PRs within years of each other. It's gonna be exciting to see them duke it out multiple times at the trials, and then again at the Olympics. It's hard to be a shot putter when two of the 3 when 2 people in your event are like all-time great in history of the world. It's kind of like, they don't take the top 3 anymore. They just take the top 1 because 2 of them are no matter what going to go. So,
right. Yeah, a little less higher profile, I think, than Carl Lewis and Leroy Burrell. Doesn't quite get the same pub as maybe those guys would have gotten. But it is. If you're not a field event fan, try to take some time to appreciate how good the American throwers are right now. Because even Darrell Hill, the third wing, obviously behind Kovacs and Krauser right now in the U.S. He's very good as well, and he's thrown. You know, I see all-time athletics here. His 22.44 best is tied for 39th all time. I mean, this guy is I don't know where he is on the all-time list as far as people, but he's got to be close to a top 20 mark. Very good thrower, but in the shadow of Kovacs and Krauser, he's well back. These guys are all-time greats, and they need to be fully appreciated. And I took a moment this weekend to really say thank you to the track and field gods for providing us with these two guys, because they're fun. They're fun, down to earth type of guys. It's cool. We don't have the ego of a Carl Lewis back in the day, which maybe would be fun. I want like a rock star type of a shot putter. That would be a lot of entertainment. But these guys are much more down to earth and humble, which has its own perks as well.
Gotta love it. Anyway.
I'm trying to think what else we got. I'm looking through my phone here. We got anything? So like we said, maybe some Bowerman action this weekend. They haven't hyped it. I checked their Instagram in the middle of the show. Don't see anything coming up yet. We've heard that they're going to compete on Tuesday. Don't know that to be true.
It is. Oh, it's true. It's true. July 31st.
It's confirmed. Yeah. No, yeah, July 21st, you mean?
July 21st. Yeah. Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. So I have no idea who's gonna run. We haven't seen Centro yet. We haven't seen Kate Grace yet. I doubt we're gonna see obviously more 5,000s. They've done that. Maybe we'll get McGordy and Fisher back on the track racing. Maybe Woody Kincaid will try to run a fast time. No idea. But obviously with what we've seen in the first two, the first inter squad competition brought big PRs for some of the younger athletes, and then of course American and Canadian records in the next one. The bar's been set pretty high, so I'm excited to see. Do you have any predictions of what we're going to see tomorrow, not knowing who it all is going to compete? Who do you think could be the breakout star of this version of the Bowerman inter squad competitions?
I think we see a 3:32 low 1500.
Whoa! Wow.
3:32.
Yeah. So Kevin and I talked about this kind of at the end of last week, and I said I thought Josh Thompson would be the breakout athlete. 3:32 is tough. Now, if you look at the fact they ran 3:34 indoors, you would think that he could run 3:32 outdoors. Now, that was at the Boston launching pad at BU, but definitely that's possible. It seems possible. He's going to have to have some people with him to run that fast, I think.
Yeah, the Boston launching pad track I heard is now made out of the Vaporfly material. They just basically run on a giant Vaporfly. That's what's happening.
That's what they've needed to do the entire time. That thing is, it needs to only be faster. I need to go in there and be able to run a sub 5 minute mile.
Yeah,
that's where, if JoJo wants to run fast, she needs to fly to Boston, even if they're closed down with the virus right now. Get in there and she'll run like 4:45. Okay, so you think Thompson? I tend to agree. Going back to last week, I think he'll be the star of this one. On the women's side, I don't know. Maybe we'll see a 3K, a 15, or an 800. It's tough. Or steeple possibly. Kevin and I brought that up too. I don't know who you're going to get to pace that, but it'd be fun to see Frericks and Quigley try to run a fast steeple, because they've been, especially Frericks, she's shown she's in shape by running that fast 5K. So maybe we can get that. Maybe Evan Jager in a steeple. I mean, one can dream, right? He's back ready. He ran a pretty good 5K, so maybe he can run a steeple, his first steeple in quite some time.
Don't you love it that we live in a world where our sport doesn't tell you what event they're running less than 24 hours before the event?
Well, yeah, it's frustrating when that happens in normal times. I can give a little bit of sympathy to these groups when it's just like these small put together meets, but yeah, it is obviously a little bit frustrating. We just have to rely on like rumor and what we've heard through the grapevine to predict what, who's going to run and what. But yeah, we have no idea. I suppose we will find out today. They'll put out a teaser that is Bowerman Track Club, and hopefully we'll get more information. Right now, we just don't have it.
Dude, this is a great pod.
We've
been doing them.
good.
How many pods have we done? Over 110 now?
This will be 110. Yeah, this will be 110. So we've done a few of them. It's been good so far, and we've done the majority of them with no track and field to discuss. Pretty impressive. I can't wait until 2021. Hopefully the world's somewhat back to normal. And every day we're just talking, either previewing or recapping events. It's going to be so much information to talk about that we're not even going to know what to do with ourselves. We're going to be like kids on Christmas every single day. So until that, we'll continue to toss out a whole bunch of hypotheticals and try to fill the air with words. For myself, Lincoln Shrike, he's Gordon Mack. We will talk to you tomorrow.